The Federal Women and Infant Children Program, WIC, is 4 decades old, and for many years, people who qualify have been able to use its benefits to buy certain kinds of food. In New York State, about 4,100 stores are authorized to receive WIC checks, and more than 3/4 of them are here in the city. The majority are small stores like bodegas, many of which rely heavily on these customers to stay afloat. But now bodega owners and a number of advocacy groups are strongly protesting a new set of state health department rules governing WIC benefits.
The state says its new measures will improve the access of poor people to healthy food and are specifically designed to reduce so-called food deserts. But our next guest says the changes would only make things worse, and the new rules would undermine years of work by coalitions pushing bodegas to stock healthful food. Let's welcome Kate McKenzie, Director of Policy and Government Relations for City Harvest. Welcome, Kate.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. First, can you break it down for us on what's WIC? How is that different from food stamps and SNAP? It can get confusing.
It's a lot of different programs in New York City.
Mm-hmm. It's true, and across the country. And we're very fortunate that we have a suite of programs called the Federal Nutrition Safety Net that ensure that people who need help getting affordable, healthy foods have the means to do so. So the first program that you mentioned, formerly known as food stamps, is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And there's close to 2 million people in New York City that are participating in that program. And it helps people put healthy food into their refrigerators and on their tables at night. To qualify for that program, and not to get too deep in the weeds, but a family makes about 130% of the poverty line or less. So that's maybe about $20,000 for a family of 4. Excuse me, a family of 3. And then you have the Women, Infants, and Children's Program. And that is for pregnant mothers and children up to age 5 it's essentially a nutrition prescription. It provides them with a voucher to buy, again, healthy fruits and vegetables, low-fat milk, whole grains, all the foods we know we should be eating, where it's easy for them in their communities.
Okay, so tell us about it. What is the issue at hand right now?
So the state, which is it's a federal program that comes through the state is proposing right now to reduce the number of stores where you can redeem your WIC voucher. So that means that if I'm a participant in the program and I want to go down to the corner where I'm used to buying my low-fat milk or my fruits and vegetables, all of a sudden I may not be able to do that anymore because the state is suggesting that maybe that store should not be able to provide the program, for me to be able to purchase food there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, their case is about reducing fraud and increasing oversight. Is there merit to that argument?
You know, I think anytime there's a government question that comes into play, there's the waste, fraud, and abuse, and that mantra is old and abused, and the reality is that these programs are some of the most effective use of government dollars that exist. What I know is that if the vast majority is completely, the overwhelming majority, this is just a mother who's struggling to make ends meet, and she wants to go buy healthy food for her kids. This also helps to save money in the long term by making sure that kids grow up really, really healthy and sound. So it's a really good investment, and the idea that in a city, here we are in Brooklyn, where close to 1 in 4 kids struggles with food insecurity, we should be doing more things to make sure that kids can have access to healthy foods, not trying to take those options away.
Okay. Well, how instrumental are bodegas in the strategy to combat the food deserts? In that, there are a number of bodegas that do have this program, but if they reduce that, what would be the true impact?
Well, so that's one of the kind of planks of our opposition and request to pause on this proposal right now. We don't know there's the economic impact to that bodega. The reality is that we don't have big grocery stores. If we have small bodegas that people like you and me and our neighbors and our friends across the city rely on. So we rely on these small corner stores for the majority of our shopping at times. And if you're shutting those stores down and saying, nope, you can no longer redeem, you can no longer accept WIC vouchers, you're reducing a family's opportunity to buy healthful and affordable foods. So that's one thing. On the other end, these stores in particularly low-income communities really rely on these federal programs for the majority of their revenues. Some stores rely on, I think it's 25% of their revenues are coming from the WIC program. That's, in an industry where, there really is no, room for, every penny counts. To reduce 25% of your revenues could be devastating to these bodegas, and likely, I'm sure we would see them close.
And to apologize, but this would also, I'm sure, impact the number of new bodegas, new corner stores that would be coming into neighborhoods as well.
Sure. If you're looking, about how can I, where's my money going to come from? Can I accept EBT? Food stamp, SNAP? Can I accept WIC? All of these programs are things that you want to rely on. And if you're saying no, we can't do that. It would impact them. Of course, it's a source of revenue that they wouldn't have the means to accept.
So, is the policy that they're pushing for just no bodegas at all, or is it some sort of limit somehow?
There's a number of different options on the table. One is for bodegas that make $5 million in revenues or more. They would be, sure, keep going, accept the program. For those smaller
the statistic
stores,
I also have is that the ratio of bodegas would be accepted into the program or continuing the program if they have a ratio of 250 WIC recipients for every cash register, which is up from 75. Now, my local bodega where I go, it only has one register.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, it's a good question, and that's why City Harvest is saying, let's pause, let's actually answer that question. Let's do an analysis of the stores that would be impacted to find out what mothers with children are going to be impacted by this, because the bottom line is we don't know. We don't know how many families are going to be impacted. We also don't know how many bodegas are going to be impacted. The bigger question, what's the economic implications? So let's just pause. Let's not rush and pass this proposal through because it says we should do so by January. Let's stop and do a careful analysis to really figure out what the impact on New York City's vulnerable population would be.
Is that being well received, that push for the pause?
To be determined. Comments were due November 16th, so we're about a week. So I think that they're reviewing the comments. It's hard to say. But that's our request, is let's just pause and let's figure out what can really
now, if this
make sense.
sort of request is denied, when would this proposal sort of take effect?
They're calling for this to go into effect in January. So this is not...
So immediately?
Immediately, yeah. And, and again, like speaking from as a Brooklyn resident and as, City Harvest is doing so much work in Brooklyn, trying to increase access to healthy and affordable food, this is not a way to do that. This is a way to reduce access.
So is there a coalition sort of forming behind this? How are you able to get, health advocates together, bodega owners, small supermarket owners?
Officials.
That's a great question. I think that...
And why aren't people really talking about this? If this is going to take effect in, right after the holidays.
Right.
All of these are great questions, and I think we're trying to, by participating in this show, by submitting the comments, by trying to encourage others to be aware of this issue. There was a piece in Cranes, and the media is just not really picking it up. This is a program that serves so many children in New York City and across the country, and we need to make sure that it's as strong as possible. There is, there's a growing number of organizations. City Harvest is, of course, one of them that works to strengthen these corner stores across the city. There's a healthy retail network of about, 15 to 20 strong, solid organizations that are all very aware of this and, frankly, really concerned. We're working with, the mayor's office, with the health department.
Anyone from the city council or maybe the assemblywoman? This is not just a New York City issue. This is a statewide issue.
It's definitely not. So we're doing our part to make sure that elected officials that champion the issues of health and poverty and really, healthy food access know about this and can prevent something like this from happening in Albany.
Okay. I do have to say, just in light of everything that we're speaking, I don't want to make light of it, but happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you.
And so to people that would like to maybe volunteer with City Harvest, how can they get more information about what City Harvest does and the important work that you do?
This is a big week for you guys, yeah?
It's a huge week. I think we're distributing something like 12,000 turkeys. to families in need. In addition to, between October and January, we'll distribute 14 million pounds of food to soup kitchens and food pantries that feed people that need it. So cityharvest.org is a quick, one-stop shop for figuring out, volunteer opportunities, what's going on. We have so many opportunities in the community, free produce distributions, some at Farragut houses, which is brand new, as well as Ebbets Field. We're doing a lot to make sure that our neighbors don't have to worry about putting food on their Thanksgiving table.
Okay. Thank you so much. And once again, for people that want to volunteer, just
cityharvest.org. We also have a Facebook page.
Because it's not just about volunteering, it's also about putting your voice into this. This is really, really important. So how can people actually get involved as well?
Absolutely. We have, through the website, also opportunities to send letters to elected officials that are, because we know that that's what they listen to. And to help prevent this or other potentially devastating, or on the other hand, some really good things that might happen too, and letting residents know, community, constituencies know that, hey, as my elected official, I want you to do something, is a great way to be engaged in trying to make everything a good Thanksgiving for everyone, and make sure that no one has to worry about where their next meal is going to come from.
Absolutely, because this is, it's 500,000 people that use this program that would then be affected.
500,000 people about in the state, and again, we have more than 1.4 million people in New York City who don't know where their next meal is going to come from, and that's
so scary.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, we thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.